In Matthew chapter 7 and verse 1, Jesus said, "Judge not that you be not judged." Well, there you have it. We cannot make judgments. You heard it straight from Jesus himself. Is that all there is to it? Stick around for another Mississippi Gospel Minute. Don't judge me. That has to be, without a doubt, the most popular reply from the lips of anyone who is rebuked for any particular sin. On the surface, it seems like a valid argument when one reads Matthew 7 and verse 1. Is it wrong to make judgments? Let's talk a little about common sense before we get to what Jesus taught and what he said. If you believe that judgment is not your responsibility to make, here are a couple of experiments that I want you to do. Stand up if you're not already. Close your eyes. No, really, go ahead. Now turn around 180 degrees. Start running. Run exactly 50 feet. Did you do it? If not, you used judgment to determine that it was not a very safe experiment for you to do. If you did, then you probably also judged that it was not a very safe experiment for you to do. By the way, how did you know it was exactly 50 feet? Now, leave your eyes open and take 10 steps forward. Did you do it? If you did, and even if you didn't, you used judgment to make that decision. If you did take those steps, you used judgment to know when to start, where to put your feet, and when to stop. Try walking through a swamp without making judgments. The cottonmouths, alligators, and other fun-loving critters will surely welcome you. Every hole and soft spot on the ground will also welcome you. As you can see, judgment is absolutely necessary in everyday decision-making. To simply tell someone not to judge is indeed ridiculous. If we did not make thousands of judgments each and every day, we would not survive very long. But what about the text? It clearly states, "Judge not." Making no judgments is not at all the point Jesus was making. A text without a context is a pretext for a proof text. Boiled down, it means that we can make a sentence mean pretty much anything we want it to if we don't use it in its context. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 1 is the primary example. What Jesus was saying was to not be hypercritical or hypocritical. How do we know this? Context. Read the next verse. Then read the verse after that. Then read John chapter 7 and verse 24, in its context, of course. In verse 2, the idea is that if you are harsh in your judgment toward others, you will be judged harshly. Be merciful and you will be shown mercy. This is dealing with being hypercritical. Verse 3 gives us the picture of someone who, in today's terms, is harshly critical toward the speck of sawdust in the eye of a brother, all while a railroad tie is in his own eye. You can see the absurdity of it, can't you? But how many of us have been or are guilty of this? Probably most of us, at least once in our lives. I won't make a list of the possibilities. This is a point where you stop and reflect. I'll wait. In John chapter 7 and verse 24, Jesus was telling the people that we should not judge simply by what we see. Oftentimes there are things going on in the background about which we have no knowledge, so we form an opinion based solely on what we see and often end up looking foolish. We should not make judgment until we have all the information needed to make that judgment, and even then only when our judgment is needed. What a better world it would be if we kept our noses where they need to be. Now, that's not saying that we don't need to use judgment towards other people. We do. As Christians, we need to be looking out for one another. But there's a big difference in judging and being judgmental. If someone is judgmental, then he or she is one who is overly and harshly critical and often in complete disregard of their own faults. Just a guess, but I would surmise that true judgmental people have more faults, or at least worse ones, than those toward whom they are being judgmental. There is never a need to be hypercritical or hypocritical, but that does not negate the need to make judgments. Please, I beg of you, judge me, but do it fairly, honestly, and most importantly, do it righteously. I want to go to heaven, and I need your help to keep me on that straight and narrow, difficult path. This has been the Mississippi Gospel Minute.